Some foods that are inconsequential for adults can be dangerous or even fatal to babies. Some can trigger severe reactions in young bodies, some present choking hazards, and some are just downright bad for infants. Take a look and take note. These are the foods you should never feed your baby. Honey may seem like one of the healthier things you could give to babies, but this all-natural sugar alternative might well be one of the worst. Occasionally, honey can contain spores of a bacteria that causes infant botulism, a rare form of food poisoning which manifests with symptoms like muscle weakness, poor feeding, constipation, and lethargy. While adults and older children can digest the bacteria with no side effects, babies can't. It's also worth keeping in mind that honey-flavored or honey-infused foods can also cause infant botulism. So avoid honey graham crackers, fruit smoothies sweetened with honey, and anything that explicitly contains that natural sweetener. Not only that, but honey can also damage your baby's teeth just as badly as sugar. If you're after a sweet touch to your baby's diet, try giving them either pureed, mashed, or dried fruit. Considering babies live off breast milk or formula for the first few months of their lives, it seems odd that cow's milk is such a no-go when it comes to their diets. But infant stomachs are incapable of digesting cow's milk in any large volumes. And those who are fed milk from a cow can suffer from irritation of the gut lining, which can cause blood loss and anemia. For their first year, babies should only drink breast milk or formula. Once they're a little older, though, cow's milk can be a great inclusion in a child's diet since it contains nutrients such as protein, calcium, and potassium, as well as vitamins A, B, and D. Start gradually introducing your baby to cow's milk from the age of 1, while keeping an eye out for allergic reactions, and mix in formula or breast milk if they don't take to it immediately. Even then, try not to give your child more than 20 ounces of cow's milk a day, or they run the risk of coming down with iron deficiencies. Certain parts of an egg are more dangerous for babies than others. The egg whites in particular, for example, are best avoided. The main problem here is that the egg whites can be a highly allergenic food. Since this part of the egg contains 4 different proteins that can each cause allergic reactions of varying levels of severity. As a result, most pediatricians recommend that egg whites not be fed to babies before their first birthday. In recent years, however, the consensus on the subject has shifted a little. A study in 2008 suggested that holding off on giving babies eggs may not prevent atopic diseases and reactions such as eczema, while others are beginning to argue that babies can be fed whole eggs from the start, as long as they're not particularly susceptible to allergies. Still, considering egg allergies can lead to runny noses, itchy eyes, skin rashes, and even anaphylaxis, a lack of clarity on the safety of egg whites might be enough to make some parents stay well clear or at least have a serious discussion with your pediatrician. This shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but it's such a big one that it's worth talking about. Candy, chocolate, and other sugary foods are bad enough for adults, and giving them to babies is something of a faux pas too. In fact, the American Heart Association recommends that babies and toddlers not receive any overly sugary foods until they're at least 2 years old. According to a 2018 study, 27% of children between the ages of 1 and 3 don't eat vegetables each day, while 75% of children between 1 and 2 eat sweets every day. That number rises to 90% for 2 and 3-year-olds. The effects of this are grim and predictable. Babies who eat too much sugar will gain weight, suffer from nutrient deficiencies, develop cavities, and likely have a preference for sweet flavors later in life, causing further problems down the road. Considering peanuts are so notorious for their allergenic nature, it should seem obvious that babies shouldn't be given them to eat. But some research actually suggests that exposure to peanuts at an early age can actually reduce the chances of a child becoming allergic. So why is it on this list? The danger with peanuts actually lies elsewhere. Whole nuts of any kind should never be fed to a baby because they constitute a significant choking hazard. Not only that, but inhalation of a peanut into the lungs is also likely, and can require an unpleasant procedure to remove. Since most nuts can't be chewed into mush by babies until they've developed their molars, it's best to steer clear during the early months of eating solid foods.
No more rhymes now, I mean it!
Anybody want a peanut?
Don't fall back onto using a spoonful of peanut butter as an alternative either, as it can be easily caught in the throat and cause choking. Instead, blend peanut butter into other foods like yogurt or pancake batter, or sprinkle crushed peanuts into applesauce. Just like they're not great for adults, soft drinks can also prove hazardous to your baby's health. Not only are they loaded with sugar, but they can damage your baby's fragile emerging teeth. These filling drinks can also spoil their appetites, meaning they're less likely to eat the nutritious foods they actually need, and can cause diarrhea if their digestive systems are forced to cope with too much fluid and sugar in one go. But it's not just soda that is bad for babies. Fruit juices aren't only entirely unnecessary to any baby who is getting enough fruit and vegetables in their diet, but they're also just as high in sugar. This goes for smoothies, flavored milks, and milkshakes too. If you really want to give them fruity drinks, blend soft fruits and limit their intake to no more than about half a cup per day. Just like sugar, salty foods can be detrimental to your baby's health. We all know that a diet high in sodium later in life can be a recipe for disaster, and strong preferences for those foods as older children and adults often start with exposure to salty foods at a very young age. If a baby under the age of 1 is receiving breast milk or formula, they are probably getting enough salt in their diet. Once they move on to more solid foods, avoid adding salt and limit foods that are high in the stuff, like bread, chips, canned soup, and jarred pasta sauces. Encouraging a preference for salty foods isn't the only issue either. A diet high in salt can cause damage to an infant's kidneys, as they're not yet able to process it. According to the UK's National Health Service, babies in their first year should have less than 1 gram of salt a day, which works out to less than half a teaspoon. Considering how much salt is added to prepared foods, it's not hard to go over that mark. Keeping caffeine out of your child's diet should be a given, but here's the problem. It shows up in some less than obvious places. Not only can caffeine be present in soda, energy drinks, and tea, but also in things like hot cocoa, chocolate milk, pudding, and even ice cream. Experts tend to agree that caffeine is best avoided by children of any age. Never mind babies. In children, it can cause nervousness, headaches, stomach aches, lack of concentration, trouble sleeping, increased heart rate, and high blood pressure. Babies and toddlers have all those risks and more, including seizures and heart arrhythmias, if given in large amounts. Think of it this way, caffeine isn't so much a food as it is a drug. And you wouldn't drug your child, would you? Vegetables are, for obvious reasons, a fantastic thing to give to your baby. As soon as they're on solid foods, it's actually pretty crucial that they be getting plenty of veggies and fruit to keep them growing strong. It's just as important, however, that they stay away from raw vegetables, as they constitute a major choking hazard for the little ones, since they're not so easy to chew. They can also be pretty tough for babies to digest and may, in extreme cases, lead to diarrhea. Just make sure that you cook all vegetables until they're very soft, and you'll have no problem. The cooking process also alters the protein in fruit and vegetables and makes them less likely to cause allergic reactions. And as a final bonus, cooking them should give you peace of mind with regards to any contamination or bacteria that may be lurking on the raw produce. This is another general rule of thumb for introducing solid foods to your baby. Stay away from anything that's unpasteurized. Pasteurization is the process of using heat to remove harmful bacteria from food without removing the food's nutrients. Generally, food items that are sold at farmers markets, farms, orchards, and roadside stands tend to be unpasteurized, but unpasteurized foods can also be found in grocery stores. The bacteria that's destroyed by pasteurization can be incredibly harmful to your baby. That includes Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria, all of which can cause serious illness. And that risk is even worse for babies due to their weaker immune systems. Foods which can often be found unpasteurized include milk, cheese, juices, ciders, and honey, some of which you're already staying away from anyway, right? Always make sure that these have been pasteurized if you're hoping to include them in your child's diet, even after the age of 1. If you can't be certain, it's probably better that you don't take the risk. Nitrates are chemicals which, unfortunately, are pretty much everywhere. They're added by manufacturers to many meats, including cured meats, bacon, salami, and sausages, in order to prolong their shelf lives and add color. But nitrates and a similar chemical called nitrites have been linked to the formation of nitrosamine in the body, which leads to a higher risk of cancer. To minimize your child's intake of preservative nitrates, avoid food products that list sodium or potassium nitrates and nitrites as ingredients. Eating a diet high in antioxidants and vitamins can also stop these pesky nitrates and nitrites from becoming nitrosamines, but it's best to just avoid them entirely. And while naturally occurring nitrates such as those found in spinach, carrots, beets, green beans, and squash won't cause you any harm, they can cause problems for babies and potentially lead to the development of a fatal blood disorder called methemoglobinemia. This is one of the main reasons why babies shouldn't eat solids before the age of 4 months, but if you're getting them onto real food any earlier than the normal 6 months, it's probably best to avoid high-nitrate foods, just in case. A few of the foods we've covered up until now are problematic for babies because they're allergens and can cause adverse reactions in children. But it's also worth considering just how you're going to introduce any food that can be described as allergenic to your child's diet. This is worth remembering in particular if your baby already suffers from an allergy or if you have a family history of suffering from allergies. The golden rule: go slow. Introduce allergenic foods like cow's milk, eggs, gluten, nuts, seeds, soy, shellfish, and fish one at a time, and in small amounts so you can see how your baby reacts. Go in too hard and with too many foods and you'll have no way of telling which foods are causing an allergic reaction, if one appears. If there's no reaction to a particular food, keep it in your baby's diet to prevent any allergy from developing. And finally, if it looks like your baby is suffering from anaphylaxis and experiencing symptoms that include wheezing, difficulty breathing, clammy skin, or fast heartbeat, seek medical attention immediately. It could be life-threatening. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more MASH videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.